Hi guys, this is part two of the final exam review. I want to talk to everybody. In this exam, like I said, I want to pick up where we left off from the last time with it. If you come to the next page is 515 to 516 in this thing. If you look at page 515 to 516 in here, what I like for you to do is if you look at these page number, I wrote two questions about index out of bound in here. Make sure you understand that index, there's boundaries in the index with this. So on this page, here's what I'm looking for, is that if you look at the question that I'm looking for, is make sure you understand how each of the arrays are found in boundaries with it. Okay, so I'm going to give you like a short snippet code. Here's an array size. That's if you look at the top of page 516. Something very comparable like that loop that I'm going to give you, that for loop on top of page 516 says I is 0, I is less than 10, and then you increment it. I want to give you an array size with it, and then I'm going to ask you something that's output with it. So make sure you read and you output that with the same with what very similar code with it. So make sure it's inbound, that you have that's not out of bound with it. That's the key thing with this thing. So I'm gonna give you a little snippet code. If you look at something very simple with that is if here's an array size, here's what's been initialized with, and I declare some values with this thing, very similar to array initialization declarations with this thing. And then I want to give you a for loop expression, and I want to ask you what is the C out for this thing with this condition with this thing. So if you look at, for example, if you look at the bottom of page 516, there's an array list of 10, 8, 5, and 12 is what's being initialized with it. And I'm going to I'm going to give you like a for loop, all right? So when you process this to see out this thing, look at the size of that. In this case, there's 3 values that's been initialized. So that array, even though it says 10, so everything else is 0, right? But the first 3 elements of that is 8, 5, and 0. 8, 5, and 12, right? So that's how you would actually look at this thing and have an output for this thing. So had I changed the value for this thing, if I changed the value for this, what would it look like? What would this value look like with this thing? So make sure you understand how you process to have a for loop with those things, and come on over, look at the restriction of the array processing. I apologize if this is going over to 516, 517 with it. So I wrote 2 questions off of that. So here is an array size. What do you do if I give you an output statement with this thing? So there's your index is equal to my index, and you look at it the way how you process that and what's legal and what's not legal with it. Okay, so make sure you be able to do. There's 2 questions that I just want you, so you separate it out with this. So make sure you give it as understanding which output is inbound versus don't output something that's out of bound. Okay, very important. So at the top of that code, if you look at an array such as the top of page 516, you're saying that's going to be outbound with it. So you're totally out of, it's not clearly out of bound with it. On page 514, on page 514, on page 514, you have it talks about the different array, what's inbound between that size with it. So look at page 515, 516. I write a couple of questions about inbound and outbound with it as well. Okay, so let's say understand the inbound and outbound of arrays. When I give you an array that's initialized to a certain values, and then I'm going to give you a for loop for you to actually for output, for loop for to output. Okay. All right. So something along the line, a couple of questions off of that. God, watch my time on these things with it. And that's 5 minutes right there. Okay. Next, I need to talk to you about that's 5:15. I wrote, well, yeah, about 3 questions off of that. Um, let's see here. What else here? Make sure you understand the syntax for equivalent, how you write things in equivalent with it when you initialize things with it. So what is something that is equivalent when I give you an array size that's, make sure you understand that the array size is separated by commas, okay? If you look at that page, on page 516 to be exact, bottom middle page, array initialization during declaration, okay? So if you look at double sales or double sales with it, the first one is 5, and the second one, the bracket doesn't have the 5 in there. Both of those are equivalent with it. Okay, so I just want to make sure you understand what is both of those are equivalency with it. Okay, so middle page 516 on that. Understand. Equivalent. Let's spell equivalent here. Equivalent. Okay. Array. Okay. I gotta stop. Hold on.